Can you tell me something about the process of you being here and working with all those thoughts and observations, imaginations also in this space with this kind of materials?
Yeah. Where to start? So there is a fictional layer to this whole exhibition, and in this layer I made some characters present that are not necessarily someone I know, someone I ever met, but it's more a speculation about who could be those people or creatures that lived in the forest and in swamps, and what is their message that they wanted to pass through the generations, the message that I don't know, the message that I never received, but I'm just trying to think of what it could be. So I worked with like portraits of just like imagining, making a lot of portraits out of clay, and indeed some of creatures are more human, like the others are more like mythological, and I also wanted to have a bit of a feeling of a presence of somebody walking through it, so I left
These grounds? Or?
No, the steps, the step from the shoe, the imprint of the shoe sole.
Footsteps.
Yeah, the footsteps together with some ceramic elements like mushrooms and organic matters, little bit like dust and moss and little tiny branches, tiny all kind of crusty things that are making the carpet of the ground next to swamps and forests, to show that there is some kind of movements between a more fictional layer and more and all other kind of layers of the story. But otherwise I think the way how items and these objects are placed is more regulated. Let's say everything is has, let's say, kind of like almost like or 90 degrees, or so it's a lot about free movement around certain structures, and I was just trying to bring all these layers of living in the space where you feel very unsafe inside your own house, outside your own house, basically everywhere. So this condition your thought, your movement, and the way how you use the language and how you express yourself, basically everything.
Nice.
And the other thing I think is that because there is so many like organic matters and also laser cuts of leaves, that is, let's say, more a synthetic way of representing nature. And when I was thinking about it, I realized that because for the laser cut I picked 3 different trees that are very common in cities particularly. So this make me subconsciously I divided the nature in the city is more artificial, and the nature about which I talked in my story connected to these ancestors, or I don't know, maybe it's about the future people that would live there. Then I use actual real fibers, real organic finds. And when I somehow talk about city, I'm thinking, okay, this is so much a controlled environment that even the leaves of the trees are, laser cut. Yeah. Everything is a little bit staged in a way. Everything is.
And they will be hanging.
Yeah.
In space also. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Layers, like an archaeologist. And that reminds me also something you told me about a children's game that you used to play, where also you go into the soil. Can you tell me something about that?
It's indeed it's like an introvert kid game, and we used to play it. The most important thing is to find the little piece of glass, and once you find it, you have to make sure that you're by yourself, and then you go to a place where you can dig a little hole in the ground, and you bring with you your little treasures, everything that as a kid you would consider as like valuable things. So that can be etiquettes from the sweet candies, or maybe like all kind of little shiny things, or petals, or little branches, or cuts of something. And then you make a composition, or like you make let's say a message out of these elements, and then you cover it with a glass, and you completely cover it with ground back again, so you make it look like nothing happened. And kids would use this as a way to start a conversation or interact with other kids. You would never say you made it yourself. You would ask someone to come with you because you found something, so you want to see and discover if there is more of those secrets, because the game is called Secrets, if there is more of those secrets under the ground.
And do you connect this language or this message that is not actually in verbal or written language? It's a different kind of code. How do you connect that to a kind of resistance?
It was because it is something that connects. How can I put it in words? What is important in the resistance is to, especially in oppressive authoritarian systems, when there is so much propaganda and it's so hard to gather together and speak about other opinions and like free thought to share that. Of course, now with internet is everything is possible. But what is most important is to make sure that in the city you can leave certain signs of your thought, that other people can see, okay, I'm not by myself. There are more people that disagree with what's happening, and just these signs around these little messages, they are helping you to go through and maybe make certain decisions in your life that make, I think, quite big things possible, historically. And it's very beautiful how people, adult people, that they need to go around a language, because it's so many things are prohibited to say or leave those messages or protest, or so it was quite fascinating to see how people find their own ways to show their disagreement, and sometimes they use more like common signs and maybe like old flags, and sometimes people do graffitis, but sometimes people go really creative, and they do it in the most open public spaces in the cities, and these signs normally get destroyed very quickly, but it is beautiful to see that, okay, there is a message, and it's important for the person who left it, but it's also important for everyone else to notice it in time and take it with them. If you are in resistance and you want to make other people you want to leave a message, you won't stand next to it, right? You have to make it, you have to be discreet, so everyone has to be discreet, so there is all this choreography happening also around that you need to come there and you need to do that, and the other people see the message, and then does it influence where they go after that or not? So there's all this mechanism that start to spin when the message is received, I guess. And also often when this message are covered, for example, if it is a sort of a graffiti in Belarus, they cover it with a paint or something, but they often don't find exact color of the paint, so they just cover it with other kind of paint, and they don't cover the whole wall, but then they cover they just make like rectangular shapes around those messages. So in a way they're also leaving a message, because it's not a plain wall anymore, it's just kind of a wall full of rectangles that are covering what was underneath, which looks, okay, something was here, but now it is just boxed and covered. And then somebody will put another message, and then they again use another paint, and they don't notice how they're also making a language by covering with these patches, with all these different colors. So it becomes, let's say, like a dialogue between two systems that have completely opposite sets of values. I'm calling it dialogue because it is answer to one another message, but of course these languages are not yet colliding into like any kind of understanding, but it is still happening, because it's also, you rewrite on top of each other's words, you kind of layer it.
I'm really looking forward. We're going to open on the 26th of February. That's a Saturday from 2 till 5. You're very, very welcome to see how Darsha, as her residency, ends up in a presentation. So, welcome.